Welcome, visitor. This production is about the early settlement of Rottnest Island off the coast of Perth, Western Australia. It looks at the early settlement of the area. Rottnest Island waters contains a number of shipwrecks, a legacy of the uncharted navigational voyages that occurred during the early exploration of the southwest coast of Australia. The earliest discovery of Rottnest Island by Europeans is credited to the Dutch navigators during the 17th century in their search for a shorter route from the Cape of Good Hope to Batavia or Jakarta, Indonesia. The first Europeans to actually land on the island were believed to be Samuel Bokerson and his crew while searching for the survivors of the Dutch ship, the Golden Dragon. Willem de Vlamingh, who in 1696 was the first recorded European visitor to Rottnest Island, gave the island its name after the abundance of quokkas, mistaking them for rats. Early colonial settlement. The first Europeans took up residence on Rottnest Island shortly after the first settlement of the Swan River Colony in 1829. Rottnest Island was considered to be a place of interest with the potential for salt harvesting, farming, and fishing. In December 1830, Benjamin Smith surveyed Rottnest Island for the Surveyor General. A plan for the township to be known as Kingstown was proposed, containing 177 lots of 1/3 of an acre, and other lots of 10 acres to be offered for sale to the public. These lots were contained in the area which is now known as Thomson Bay. Thomson's Bay was named after Robert Thomson, who became the major landholder on Rottnest during the 1830s. Another of the very early settlers was James Dempster, who came in the 1930s and in 1939 saved the crew of the Landseer when it was wrecked off Rottnest Island. One of the very early industries on the island was the production of guano, or bird droppings. These were shoveled into ships and sent to Perth. Another early industry was the production of salt from salt lakes. The colony of Perth had no source of salt, and Rottnest became its only supply. It was harvested from Pierce Lake and shipped. The white building is known as the Salt House and was used for the storage of salt. Today it is a museum and welcome center for tourists. Rottnest has 12 salt lakes, each with a content of 4 to 6 times greater than seawater. The two shallowest lakes dry up during the summer and expose a thick layer of rock salt that is easily collected. For many years, Rottnest was the only source of salt in Western Australia. During the 1830s, settlers from the colony of Perth settled on Rottnest Island and began farming using primitive instruments. In 1831, a small penal colony was established on the island under Superintendent Welsh. By 1839, conflict between the penal settlement and the settlers led to the government taking back all the settlers' lands. A new superintendent, Thomas Vincent, was appointed to take over and expand the penal settlement. Under Superintendent Vincent, an active building program was begun, and he soon began supplying grain and salt to the mainland. By his retirement in 1867, he was responsible for many of the buildings in the Thomson Bay settlement. One of the major projects undertaken by the Aboriginal prisoners was the construction of an early lighthouse. In 1842, the government decided to erect a lighthouse on the island. Henry Trigg was sent to direct the native prisoners to dig and lay the foundations. The original lighthouse was situated in the center of the island and constructed of locally quarried limestone. By 1851, the lighthouse was officially open. It was replaced in 1896 with a new, much larger lighthouse, and the old tower was demolished. The first lighthouse keeper was Thomas Carter. He was replaced by Samuel Duffield in 1854, who occupied the position for 28 years. Along with the lighthouse, the government established buildings and maintained a group of men known as pilots who would pilot ships into the harbour at Fremantle. The Aboriginal convicts were responsible for many of the buildings which exist today around Rottnest Island. One of them is known as Buckingham Palace. It was the Lomas Cottage. A nickname, Buckingham Palace, received in the 1880s when Warder Buckingham lived there. Originally, the cottage was built for John Lomas, an ex-convict and later imperial pauper, for whom the government provided housing and provisions. Over the years, the cottage has served many purposes. In 1997, it was restored to its original form and now serves as an exhibition place. Lomas Cottage was originally constructed as a one-room cottage surrounded by a large garden for Lomas to grow his own vegetables. Lomas was reportedly a strict vegetarian. He left Rottnest in 1874, leaving his cottage to accommodate a warder named Buckingham. By 1901, a second room was added, and the building was used as the telephone exchange. The eastern wall was removed, and large double doors fitted to allow the installation of telephone equipment. Many of the convicts' early works are located along the coastline of Thomson Bay. A plaque refers to this as the unique Australian street, and it includes a number of houses for the pilot service, charged with taking ships safely into Fremantle.
The cottages and the front walk are some of the oldest surviving structures on Rottnest Island.
Some of the architectural design techniques used in the old colonial buildings are quite interesting. Limestone quarried on Rottnest was used to construct the walls and floors, as well as the flat roofs. According to old records, it's very difficult to keep the flat limestone roofs waterproof. To solve the problem, pitch roofs were gradually added to each building. In many cases, the new roof was fitted on top of the old roof. The seawall was an impressive construction, being 300 meters long and 3 meters high. It was built over many years as the front walk was extended. To create the front walk at the top of the wall, the Aboriginal prisoners transported